are certain dates that are etched into the American national consciousness. The 4th of July, 1776, the date of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, is one of the earliest. One of the most recent is, of course, September the 11th, 2001, a date that needs no explanation. And then there is the 7th of December, 1941, a day President Franklin D. Roosevelt described to the US Congress as a date that will live in infamy. On this particular Sunday morning, the naval forces of the Empire of Japan carried out a surprise attack on the US naval base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, resulting in an overwhelming Japanese victory and the long-awaited entry of the United States of America into the Second World War, 2 years after it broke out in Europe. The ambush resulted in heavy losses for the Americans. There were 2,403 dead and 1,178 wounded. They lost 188 aircraft, 5 battleships, 1 minelayer, and 3 destroyers were either sunk or badly damaged. The Japanese got off much more lightly, with 64 dead, 1 captured, and the loss of 29 aircraft and 5 midget submarines. As with so many acts of hostility, one of the chief reasons behind Japan's actions was access to oil. Japan was determined to protect its move into Singapore and the Dutch East Indies, where it was securing access to such natural resources as the notorious black gold. The attack was also the almost inevitable result of a period of escalating embargoes and sanctions between the two countries, as the US, backed by the League of Nations, responded to Japan's expansionist policies in Asia, especially with regards to its heightened conflict with China from 1937 onwards. The air raid attack on Pearl Harbor began at 7:48 a.m. and was all over 90 minutes later. The Americans were completely unprepared. Despite intelligence suggesting increased Japanese aggression and warnings that war with Japan was inevitable, there had been no specific indication of an attack on Pearl Harbor. It was Commander Logan Ramsey who sent the now famous telegram, "Air raid, Pearl Harbor. This is not drill." And even with their lack of readiness, many Americans responded to the call with courage and fortitude. One of the most well-documented single defenders was Doris "Dorrie" Miller, a ship's cook, who without any training in the use of the weapon, took over an unattended aircraft gun and fired on the attacking planes, even while his ship was being bombed. He was awarded the Navy Cross, while another 14 sailors and officers received the Medal of Honor. Even though there was heavy loss of life on the American side, however, important infrastructure, including the submarine base, the power station, and the cryptanalysis unit survived. And a prime Japanese objective, the destruction of the 3 Pacific-based American aircraft carriers, failed, because none of the ships was present at the time. Consequently, the US's recovery was swifter than expected, and the country was able to fully engage in the war in the Pacific within months. Despite its decisive victory in its preemptive attack on Pearl Harbor, Japan's strategy was soon exposed as disastrous. With President Roosevelt declaring war the day after the attack, the US was soon utilizing its huge military and economic resources to join its allies against Japan, Germany, and Italy, leading to the total defeat of the Axis powers by 1945. Indeed, on hearing that the Pearl Harbor attack had brought America into the war, the Prime Minister of Britain, Sir Winston Churchill, wrote, "Being saturated and satiated with emotion and sensation, I went to bed and slept the sleep of the saved and thankful."
Three, two, one.